All right, how's everyone doing today? Thank you, guys. Thank you ever so much for being so kind to join us. Thank you again. Thank you to all our beautiful co-creators, particularly our brothers and sisters who have just joined our growing community. We are supremely appreciative of your presence, whether it's your digital presence or whether you want to co-create with us on a more personal basis. Either way, it is of incredible importance to us. However, please be advised that the lesson 33, 34, and today's lesson 35, it's a continuation of a singular narrative, which is like the higher echelon of faculty when it comes to metaphysics, aka the highest quantum physics of how reality actually works. So if you haven't had the frame of reference of previous lessons, it might be a little bit confusing, to say euphemistically. So if we cause any distress to anybody for whatever reason, we profusely and very gently apologize, but we highly suggest to start from the very first lesson and just increase your consciousness, start your character arc, your expansion of consciousness as it pertains to the game of life, of how to utilize the open source called internet, social media, proliferation of smartphones and AI, how to collapse it in one in order to co-create the best version of reality for yourself, your family, your communities, and the planet at large. And we wish you every success. But this is essentially the lessons. It's like faculty in a college or in your university. It has sequentiality for a reason. So this is your game of life. You are the co-creator. You are the master of this reality, and we work for you. You are the boss, so to speak. We will accept whatever you choose to do. However, we just gently suggest to start with the first lesson and just carry on until you find your way here. Now, in a worst case scenario, if you just don't have time for that, please go back to lesson number 33 and 34 to expand your frame of reference, because like I said, this is just a continuation of the narrative. So we're going to recap very quickly the lesson 33, metaphysics of reality, metaphysics of manifestation, the law of attraction in action. We were explaining how reality essentially works. We were saying that there were 4 modalities. And also, very quick disclaimer once again to all our co-creators who have just joined us, as enlightened entrepreneurs, we do not place emphasis on the logical values, whether it's true or not, or the ethical values, whether someone chooses to believe that it's positive or someone chooses to believe it's negative, because we are very focused on co-creating large modules and super modules that will eventually attract millions or even billions of people, and they will have different opinions, different belief systems, different values, and different framing of all those different modalities of existence, all those different concepts and ideas. And hence why we are not really focused on assigning logical nor ethical values. We're more focused on realizing our collective vision. Enlightened entrepreneurship, free education, particularly as it pertains to AI, digital literacy, and financial literacy. So being enlightened entrepreneur, the best way of healing the planet, make love, make friends, make money at the same time. So having said that, all of this is optional. Take what you will. None of it is just framing. These are just belief systems. Take whatever you please. So we were talking about 4 modalities of reality. First modality is a singularity, which is beyond any definition because no definitions exist there. The closest definition you can use is the definition of existence, but that definition in and of itself, once again, it's not applicable, because the existence, once again, it has inherent duality about it. Existence, non-existent. I live, and then at some stage I will die. That's duality. Within singularity, duality doesn't exist. It's just singularity. But this is the closest within the frame of reference we can get at this moment in time to make it as inclusive for all our brothers and sisters, regardless of which consciousness level they represent, whether they are subconscious, conscious, super conscious, whether they are young souls or super old souls, as our metaphysicist brothers and sisters call them. So singularity is just that. The closest thing you can say is existence, but once again, it's a framing. I am. That's the closest thing you can say. It's beyond definition, beyond time, beyond space, beyond understanding, beyond conceptualization. The singularity then manifests the first proper game, the first manifestation, which is singularity splits itself, so to speak. So it has a perception of being in multiple places, quote unquote, because there is no time and there is no space yet, but it's just a framing. We were imagining it as a field of light which extends into infinity. This is what some religious traditions and some occultists refer to as the circle, which has the circumference nowhere and center everywhere. And you are in that center because singularity is in that center. So wherever you look, it's the same picture. You can teleport yourself wherever you please. But if you imagine that you would be zooming out from your point of view, it's just a field of infinity, and that infinity is consciousness. It's the original, the highest level of consciousness, the awareness of awareness, the consciousness being that you are aware that singularity cross-references itself to itself. That's what consciousness is. And if you would be able to quote unquote zoom out, once again, it's just framing. There is no distance and there is no time, so you cannot zoom out and there is no distance there. But just for the frame of reference, if you would be zooming out, you see the same picture, and you zoom out again and you see the same picture of infinite potentiality, infinite consciousness, infinite flat field of light. So whichever perspective you look, it's the same picture. So in other words, the consciousness is holographic. That's the first manifestation. That's the first hologram. That's the first proper game of life. When we talk about the game of life, that's what we really talk about, that the singularity manifests the first proper game, the game of self-referencing itself to itself, the game of unified field consciousness. And then the unified field consciousness have the second projection, which is, so it's a projection of a projection, the projection of quantum field, where you introduce the energy, when you introduce the energy spectrum with highest vibrational frequency being unconditional love and lowest vibrational frequency being unmitigated fear. So once again, it's a unified field cross-referencing itself against unified field. So now you have the perspective, now you have those two extremities, that's your duality, but within that duality, that's the digital reality, the spectrum, the infinity within oneness. Just like you have the digit 1 and you can chop it down, divide it into infinite amount of fractals. That's essentially what's going on within the quantum field with the infinity of vibrational frequency, and that in turn can manifest reality with infinite variables, infinite options, infinite potentialities for your life. So that's the first mini game. That's quantum field, where now you have unified field consciousness being energetic, because you have the wave function, which, by the way, it's not a wave function as it's normally portrayed on the planet Earth, because if you say two-dimensional, no, it's three-dimensional. It's isometric view. It actually looks like a coil. It's a spiral. Not coincidental that your genome looks exactly the same, or chlorella. It's the cell of chlorella, the algae in the ocean. It's many organisms in biological reality are reflective of this mathematical pattern of a coil. That's what spiral is. That's what wave function is, because it's three-dimensional. Actually, it's four-dimensional because there's dimension of time, but 3 dimensions of space and 1 dimension of time. That's essentially what it is. And depending how compressed coil is, that's the vibrational frequency. That's that variable that you can regulate now, and that's what gives you the infinite versions of the same thing, and that's what gives you the illusion of multiplicity of consciousnesses, multiplicity of planets, multiplicity of galaxies, because that mini game of quantum field, that's the CAD design, that's the blueprint for the physical reality. So now you have the projection of the projection, that's the physical reality, which is the multiverse, which is the cosmos plus, because it's the cosmos plus all the versions of the cosmos that exists within the quantum field. So just like we were using the analogy from the lesson 22 of the character arc, that if you imagine that your life is essentially a tree, and every time you choose another skill set, you're branching out and you're deciding whom to connect with, because just like you branch out like a tree, that's your skill set, you connect with other trees, with your icons, with your teachers, with your affiliates, with your team members. So this is about the forest co-creating together, but how your tree of life grows, how your character arc grows, how your learning curve grows, because that's what it is. You just consciousness expansion. You just remembering that you are unified field of consciousness, but as you're doing it, you are developing skill set. You are capable of doing more stuff as a physical reality. You decide how you develop your character arc. That's infinity, because within the quantum field you have infinite amount of potentiality, so you have infinite amount of character arcs. One character arc as a billionaire, one character arc as a millionaire, one character arc as a beggar. Infinite versions of the same character arcs. Which character arc you will manifest depends on your focus and depends on your alignment with your fellow human beings, aka the other trees, because it is infinite super consciousness, but within the physicality framework, especially on the third density, especially on the density of the planet Earth, it is about challenge. It's about contrast. It's about you choose to believe you are powerless because you need to connect with other trees, so to speak. It's not about the trees, it was always about the forest, and many of our brothers and sisters have chosen to forget about that. So remember the first and the second lesson, the size and symmetry of your why. It's not about you, it's not about us, it's about the one, it's about the singularity, it's about the totality of the human experience. As you are connecting more and more with the people who are aligned with the same values and the same vision, you become more and more infinite, you become more and more unstoppable. You simply remember whom you've always been. So that's the game of life. That's, you have essentially holographic consciousness, holographic energy, which is conscious of itself, because it's both. Remember, it's a projection of a projection, it's a mini game within a game, and then you have the mini game within the mini game called physical reality, which is not physical and it's not reality. It's a holographic projection, it's a dream, it's a movie. It's exactly like in the movie Matrix, but it's not, it's a simulation, but it's not that you have one person having a simulation of another reality. It's the infinite super consciousness having the physical, having the physical experience. So you are infinite energetic consciousness, which tricks itself into believing that you are a finite physical being. You're not finite, and you're not physical, and you're not disconnected, and you are not alone. Those modalities are just ways of framing. Remember the lesson 5. Don't believe any of it is just BS. It's just, and as more and more people transition themselves to the super consciousness, aka as was our religionist brothers and sisters call soul, and metaphysicists call the higher self, as they start to look from different perspective and start to remember whom they were, that's when you start playing your game of life to the fullest. That's when you max out your happiness, your trust, and your freedom indices. And that's when you're really starting to live instead of simply survive and just gotten by. So the next lesson was 34, the mimification of life. We were talking about that because the whole multiverse is a one giant hologram, so it's a three-dimensional picture, that it's always a reflection of itself. Because remember, the highest, on the highest level in metaphysics, it's singularity. You don't see emptiness at some traditions have told you. There is no such thing as emptiness. You cannot be empty in a holographic projection. It's just a dream. It's like having a helmet. It's like, oh, this is empty. It's not empty. It's a perception of emptiness, just like it's a perception of solidity, just like it's a perception of time flow, just like it's a perception of many. These are perceptions, these are impression. None of it is real, only hashtag the struggle is real, the pain is real, the love is real, the redemption arc is real, that you living day by day from paycheck to paycheck, and then remembering whom you are and connecting with the right skill set, connecting with the right knowledge, connecting with the right opportunities, and having that inflection point and having that redemption arc. That's what's true. That's why you did that to yourself in order to have that amazing experience of the frame of reference, of contrast, that you chose to believe that you are zero. Now you're starting to believe you are becoming a superhero. That's what you wanted to give to yourself. You wanted to give to yourself that endorphin hit of feeling like success, that great success that can inspire literally millennia of generations to come after you. So it's a one giant holographic picture, one singular super consciousness that has an experience of physical reality. And that's why we were talking about mimification of life. We started with one meme, the 100 monkey effect. The 1950s Japanese scientists have observed that once sufficient amount of species have access to this particular skill set, suddenly that skill set is almost as if by magic available to the entirety of the species. This is why what you're doing here is so important. Even if it's just a side gig, even if you're just doing your plastic flashes, and then you're doing a content how you co-create your artistry, and you're really passionate, you're really exhilarated about that. What you're doing is super important, because that's an inspiration for everyone else. You're developing a skill set of how to develop the digital and AI and financial literacy in order to develop the greatest amount of wealth, and then you inspire everyone to follow suit. The gold standard of service to others, that don't be a good guy, don't give him a fish, don't be a great guy, don't share your fishing pole, be a best guy slash gal. Inspire all to build their fishing academies. They are Singularity just like you are. They could have always done it, but they have had the framing that they couldn't, because they were operating on a subconsciousness or consciousness level. They were operating within the framework of people who are misaligned with themselves, with the greater good of the entirety of humanity. So we started with one meme, and then we've added another meme, the meme of collective consciousness, that within the quantum field you have the collective consciousness of humanity, the one consciousness that governs the entirety of human species. And that collective consciousness wants you guys to succeed, because at the end of the day, faster you grow, more happy you are, more aligned you are, and more free you are, faster you expand your consciousness. Remember, whether you are humanist, whether you're religionist, whether you are metaphysicists, there are only two modalities in life: growth and death. You grow or you die. You pursue pleasure, you avoid pain. That's it. The multiverse is super simple on the highest level. There's many people have a tendency of adding their own twist and narrative, but on the highest level in metaphysics, it's super simple. What do you want? Do you want love or do you want fear? What do you want to manifest? How do you want to experience yourself? How do you want to express yourself? How do you want to connect yourself with the rest of yourself, aka 9.1 billion beautiful co-creators and influencers who are ready to join you when you are ready to join them? What do you want? What do you want to manifest? So that was the collective consciousness of you. So we used one meme, and then we extrapolated another meme, and then we extrapolated another meme of the law of squares, that secret ingredient why there's so many people are struggling with the so-called law of attraction. We were talking about that if you imagine that the entirety of reality is just a one giant wishing well, and every single sentient being on this planet and every planet is just having a dream, a desire, a vision, what they want from their life, what they want to manifest, what they want their character arc, their tree of life to look like. It's essentially like giant Olympics of wishful thinking. And which manifestation will be manifested ultimately, as always, and quantum physicists will love it, it's a function of energy. And we were talking about, for simplicity's sake, we were saying that every single human being has, let's say, 3 tokens of energy. But we were talking about the principle that when you have 2 human beings or any sentient beings which are aligned, once again, alignment is the key. The trust index is a symbol of alignment, aka the cohesion. Are you guys heading in the same direction, or are you clashing with each other? Conflict, strife, discord, that's misalignment. When you are one, that's alignment. That's singularity remembering itself. That's why many of you have been conditioned not to look into each other's eyes, because then you see yourself, and we cannot allow that to happen, because then humanity would realize how powerful you guys are, right? So there's a lot of people making money keeping humanity where it is. We cannot allow those trillions to go to waste now, can we? So this is what's going on, the great awakening. So the law of squares, that if you have 2 people, it's not 6 tokens, it's because it's squaring each other. Each new participant, each new co-creator, this is why teams are so important, this is why affiliates are so important. Each new variable is squaring the previous amount of participants. So for example, now you have 2 people, so it's 9 instead of 6. If you have another person, it will be 27 instead of 9. The law of squares makes it exponential in terms of your power to manifest reality. But in reality, what goes on is just that the unified field consciousness goes from one modality to another modality to another modality, seemingly billions of times per second, and that's what creates the illusion of space-time. Now, so that's mimification of life. The memes are essentially the images, they are symbols, and the mimification of life is the symbol of symbolism. Now, if you imagine the Russian matryoshka as the symbol of the multiverse, because it's a, as you know, it's the figurine which has the smaller figurines inside, and if they look the same, that's a symbol of hologram, that you have the one picture and you open it up and there's another picture which looks exactly identical but it's smaller, and another picture and another picture. With the memes it works other way around, that you start with a meme, like for example when you did in the lesson 18 with your vision, when you were floating the meme of your vision to the multiverse, to your fellow co-creators, to your influencers, to the live flowers, and it would say, hey, let's come together and co-create. It goes other way around. People are coming in and you start with a meme, but they are adding their twist, they're adding their energy, they're adding their frequency, they're adding their artistry, their science, and their unique signature expression, energetic signature expression. That's what personality construct is, that each and every time the multiverse is adding another twist to itself, but it's all one unified field consciousness. So instead of looking into the smaller meme, you co-create the bigger meme, and again and again and again, just like we did with the 100 monkey effect, and then collective consciousness, and then the law of square. Small meme, bigger meme, greater meme. And the meme, aka the symbol, mimification of life, is the symbol of a symbol, is the symbolism of the fact that the whole multiverse is one giant holographic image. That's why the vision had to be an image. It's not because you couldn't write it down, the mission statement of your team, or that you couldn't have spreadsheets with your SMART goals and projections for profits. You can do all those things, but the multiverse doesn't operate on the digits or the human languages. It operates on thought, because that's the original construct. The thought is the symbol of the entirety of reality. Because as you climb on the consciousness expansion ladder, as you focus on your focus, starting from lesson 15, as you're getting better and better, going higher and higher into the communion with your higher self or soul or super consciousness, as our humanist brothers and sisters, as you start to utilize that 80% of your brain, if you prefer whatever modality you want to use, it's your game of life. As you're doing more and more of that, you are realizing more and more that there's no such thing as ideas, there's no such thing as ideologies, there's no such thing as concepts, there's no such thing as science, culture, nation state, religions. These, all of them, are derivative of one singular idea, and that idea, our metaphysicist brothers and sisters will call it multiverse, our religionist brothers and sisters, they will call it God, our humanist brothers and sisters, they will call it however they please. They can call it cosmos, they can call it nature, they can call however they please. But essentially it's one giant holographic four-dimensional, because 3 dimensions of space and 1 linear dimension of time, 4-dimensional picture. So all memes are essentially ways back to the holographic nature of the multiverse. It's a physical hologram, energetic hologram, consciousness hologram, and it's a projection of a projection, projection of a projection of a projection, mini game within mini game within the game of life. That's how consciousness plays with itself. Now we're going to talk about the lesson 35, how we're going to be using it regardless of what your belief system is, because obviously, like we said in the lesson 33, these teachings, these modalities, these formats of framing, these are just tools. None of it is real, none of it is true. We don't care if it's real or if it's true, because your brain doesn't care. Why should you? What we want is, we want a vision, and we want to manifest that vision with our teams and with our affiliates to give the maximum happiness index, maximum trust index, and maximum freedom index. So in other words, no one cares if it's true or not. That's not our focus. We focus on the vision, we focus on maxing out our true KPIs, your happiness, your love versus fear, your trust index, your highest integrity, highest excitement, highest integrity, highest freedom. That's what you focus on. You do it for yourself, you inspire your team to do it for themselves, you start to act as one, because that's what mojo is, that's what side gig is, that's what business is, that's what institution is, that's what religion is, that's what nation state is. These are different names for communities. That's what you are. You are a professional developer of communities. And because you were separated from your true purpose, that's why your life perhaps wasn't the best in terms of your personal framing. Maybe you don't believe that your life is the best as it could be. And most likely you're right. Maybe you can play the game of life much better than that, and hence why you're here. Not a coincidence. There's no such thing as coincidence. One singular idea and every meme leads you back to the holographic nature of the multiverse. It's a symbol of a symbol of a symbol, reminding you it's just a picture of a picture of a picture. Your brain is a hologram, your body is a hologram, planet Earth is a hologram, because everything within the hologram called multiverse is a hologram. So as you get closer and closer to that realization, you realize that there's no such thing as new ideas, new patterns, new concepts, new political models, new socioeconomic models. Those models will be downloaded from the collective consciousness of humanity. And that's why being in a state of highest exhilaration and greatest humility, remember, it's you and it's not you at the same time. You as your playable character, as your physical self, is like you're just a microbe on a microbe of a planet, on a microbe of a galaxy with an infinity of potential. And at the same time, the true gamer, remember the original gamer, the singularity, and then the gamer has the first avatar called unified field consciousness, and the avatar of the avatar is quantum field, and you are the avatar of the avatar of the avatar of the true player. And the true player is not even a player, because singularity is beyond definition. So it doesn't even know that it plays the game. It just is. That's singularity. But that's another story. So the way to go to the best method of framing, I don't know if you remember from lesson 25, we were essentially collapsing the two opposites, because once you start accepting holographic nature of the multiverse and the singularity of all concepts, you start to collapse the so-called opposites. So we had the concept of free will and we had the concept of destiny. Lesson 25, follow in order to lead. We were collapsing those two concepts together. The destiny is the flow of a river. Once again, it resembles, if you would trace your trajectory on the river, you would see that it was not massively dissimilar to the look of the tree. So to branching out of the tree as you try to navigate the main flow of the river. The river is the destiny. You will come back home. You will realize that you are one with everything that there is. How long you're gonna take, it's only up to you. After all, you are the director, script writer, main cast and support cast of your movie of your life. It's your game of life. You can play it however you please, but we would gently suggest to you to have the greatest possible experience: physical, mental and spiritual ecstasy. Physically, mentally, spiritually, socially and financially, just maxing out those key KPIs, key performance indicators. So those people who align themselves with the flow of the river, the intent of the multiverse. Once again, no such thing as my will, your will, their will, the will of God. No, it's one singular intent of the multiverse, or God, as our religious brothers and sisters would say it. You just need to align with it. You have free will, so you can be like many of our brothers and sisters on the outskirts of the potentiality, that infinite potentiality called life, or you can go with the flow. You know that meme of the Looney Tunes, that you have the ostrich and he's like meep meep and he just flies by? That's how it's going to be when you start entering the flow, and your team starts entering the flow, and your affiliates start entering the flow on a daily basis. Not every now and then, no, on a daily basis. You go into the highest excitement, you are in a state of humility, you are super adaptable, and you always say, no, it's not me doing it. It's the people, it's the artificial intelligence, it's the open source, it's all those billions of people who have come before me. It's nature, it's chaos theory, it's God, it's multiverse. It's always outside and yet it's always within. Maybe you have heard that term, that as above, so below. Once again, that's not necessarily true. As within, so without. That's what you manifest. That's why if you focus on the law of attraction, you're already focusing outside. No, you come back within. Highest excitement, highest integrity, highest freedom. Three verticals always. You're just having fun. You go from one ecstasy to another ecstasy to another ecstasy. And you are co-creating those great modules because you want other versions of yourself, your fellow human beings, your brothers and sisters to have fun too. Whether they will choose to join you or not, it's up to them. It's their freedom index. But you give them the greatest opportunity to co-create with the massive amount of people, which you can do now. So the secret of going into the flow is the principle called SPD. No affiliation with the German politics, by the way. Now, many of our brothers and sisters who are, as metaphysicists would say, young souls, they would struggle with that definition because they are not yet as adaptable as they will become in the future if they allow themselves to be. So they are very rigid in their belief systems. The laws and principles operate within the metaphysical reality of the multiverse, aka the so-called physical reality, which is not physical and it's not reality. It's the holographic projection. It's a simulation. It's a dream. That's where you have the laws and principles, and the quantum field. That's where you have the laws and principles. Within the unified field and within singularity, there are no laws and there are no principles. The unified field is just consciousness of consciousness, the highest level of consciousness, the consciousness of the fact that singularity cross-references itself to itself. That's why everything looks like a picture of a picture of a picture, because it's singularity cross-referencing itself to itself. And even though it's a holographic projection, even though it seems so vast and so monumental, the unified field consciousness knows that it's just a holographic projection. It's just a dream. It's just a movie. It's always singularity cross-referencing itself against singularity. That's unified field. Unified field doesn't have laws, because laws, once again, is duality and digitalization, the spectrum of energy, which is quantum field. Energy doesn't exist within unified field. There's no such thing as up and down. There's no such thing as unconditional love and unmitigated. It's just unified field. 0 point. There are no variables. Hence why there are no laws, because the law is you will follow the law, you will not follow the. That's variable. That's essentially duality. Duality doesn't exist within singularity and doesn't exist within the unified field. So I appreciate that our younger souls might have a challenge with that. And guys, once again, if we have made anyone feel distressful, we deeply apologize for that. Remember, this is just mathematical framing. Take what you will in order to manifest your first $1,000,000 and leave everything else behind. We do not mean to change you. Only you can change yourself, and you will change yourself if you choose to change yourself. We love you and appreciate you exactly the way you are. We wouldn't change a singular nano atom of your existence. But if you want to change yourself, you will. But this is just a framing. Singularity doesn't have laws. Unified field consciousness doesn't have laws. They don't exist there in that modality. Sorry. So singularity instead has the prime directive, which is essentially, it's a suggestion that you will do. That's another thing that might be slightly contentious for our brothers and sisters who have very rigid religious belief system. You will do what Supreme Being needs you to do, whether you want to or not, whether you choose to believe you can or not, whether you feel like you are violating the Supreme Being or you are in alignment with Supreme Being, because in effect, you are singularity, you are one with Supreme Being, just like the rest of the physical multiverse, this multiverse and every multiverse, this galaxy and all galaxies, this planet and every planet, teeming with life, by the way. But don't tell it to your astrophysicists. The human scientists get very upset when you tell them the truth. So essentially, what's going on here is that it is just a suggestion how you can go back home sooner. And by the way, we were talking about that meme of coming home is existing in all human traditions and all human religions. That reiteration of the story of coming back home. That's the essence of the game of life. At some stage, as you really become proficient, as you really start manifesting not just 1 million, but many millions, you will have so much fun and you will have so much love and you will give so much meaning to your life, life of your team, life of your family, life of your affiliates, life of all those beautiful human beings who will be blessed by your presence that you realize that it was never about the tokens of acceptance. It was never about click-through rates or the retention of the client base or the market share or profit margins or how many digits you have on your bank account. It was never about that. It was always about highest excitement, highest integrity, and highest freedom. It was always about living your life to the fullest. And that's the true freedom. Many of those guys who are multi-billionaires, they have very low freedom index. Do you think that Bob Iger is doing what he loves doing, or does he feel like he's being... Bob Iger, by the way, is the guy who runs Disney. Or does he feel like he's being surrounded by everything collapsing around him? The great empire called Disney is collapsing in real time. Do you think that he has high or low freedom index? So no, I want you to have all the toys, I want you to have the staffs, I want you to have social cloud, I want you to have symbol of status if you want it. But at some stage you'll come to realize that it's a story of coming back home. It's the story of remembering whom you've always been. It's the story of maxing out your happiness, getting back to love, maxing out your trust, going back to the truth, maxing out your freedom, doing what you truly always wanted to live your life to the fullest. That's what you wanted to do. That's why we're creating those modules. That's why we are inviting everyone to co-create with us. The SPD, no affiliation with German politics, Singularity Prime Directive is one of the fastest way of entering the flow and staying there on a consistent basis. And it goes as follows. As you do something, you shall do everything. As you treat someone, you shall treat everyone. Now, whether you're a humanist or religionist, whether you are a metaphysicist, however you wish to frame yourself, whether it's on this planet or any other civilization, any other planet, whether it's in this galaxy or any other galaxies. Once again, the galaxies are teeming with life. Multiverse has been specifically designed to support intelligent life. Shh, don't tell it to your astrophysicists. Whether it's this multiverse or any other multiverse, this principle stays. It's not a law. Whether you want to follow it or not, it's up to you. You are the singularity, you are the multiverse, you are a unified field, you are quantum field. You can do whatever you please. But your manifestation, your experience of reality will be predetermined by the vibrational frequency, because this is the physical reality. Not physical, not reality, but it feels physical, it feels solid, it feels limiting. It feels contrastive because you want to give yourself the greatest frame of reference of love versus fear in order to choose. Not as an individual, but as a planet. But that's the story for another time. So what do you want? Do you want love or do you want fear? What experience do you want? And those of you who embrace that principle and say, here, I accept it. It's my choice. I am the grand architect of my destiny. I am the gardener who grows my tree of life. I develop my character arc. I develop my storyline. I decide to follow this principle. This principle alone is that life hack which will open the doors that you didn't believe possible before. This is that principle. As you do something, you shall do everything. As you treat someone, you shall treat everyone. So do it the best you can, or don't bother at all, and treat everyone, starting with yourself. There's many people who want to, there's many of our brothers and sisters in metaphysical communities. They are the guys who would give, and the girls that would give the last t-shirt to the homeless. But God bless you. But if you develop the module that actually mass produces billions of t-shirts in sustainable fashion, let's say from industrial hemp, the fabric that lasts for more than 50 years, then you can give millions of homeless people that fabric. So you have to start with yourself, because that's the Singularity Prime Directive. As you treat someone, and that someone that you're treating on nanosecond basis is you. That's why you are here. Not a coincidence. No such thing as coincidences, no such thing as chaos fear. Chaos fear and coincidence, that's the fear-based consciousness. That's when you operate from the third density and everything seems to be disjointed and disconnected. As you go higher and higher in vibrational frequency, you start seeing that all of it is collapsing into one. Consistent with the metaphysics of manifestation that we've just discussed of the calls of those 3 lessons. This is the gift from however you wish to frame it, whether it's God, whether it's multiverse, whether it's creation, whether it's everything that there is, or whether you can frame it as your true self, the gamer who's not a gamer, who is behind the playable character, the avatar that you identify as you, that is played by another avatar, that is played by another avatar, because that's what the game of life is. It's a mini game within a mini game within a game. That's the essence of game of life. And you, as a consciousness, are piercing through those veils and going back to the source, as some civilizations call it. That's singularity. You are simply becoming whom you've always been. And singularity prime directive, as you do something, you shall do everything. As you treat someone, you shall treat everyone. That's that life hack. That's that cheat code. That's what's gonna, you know, the game of life challenge, the 6 years to manifest 1 million bucks with your team using AI, open source, and digital and financial literacy. You just sliced your learning curve by 50% just by embracing this life hack. And you can do it as a humanist. You can be like, hey, I don't believe in any of that new age bullshit. You don't have to. Apologize for using the negative framing. You don't have to. It's your game of life. But if you embrace this principle, which, like I said, you can embrace it wherever you are, whomever you frame yourself to be, as you do something, you shall do everything. As you treat someone, you shall treat everyone. Do it the best you can and treat everyone not like you want to be treated. Treat them with reverence, with the highest expression of unconditional love, and do it as if your life depended on it. You know, when you have, like in Japanese culture, for example, when they are preparing the tea and they do it with so much attention to details, they do it with reverence, they celebrate life. It's not your life flow, it's not your module, it's not your mini game, it's not your sidekick, it's the reverence called life. That's when you transition from the workflow to the life flow. That's when you are entering the flow. You take your team because they follow you. You don't take them there, they follow you. And then your affiliates and everyone. And then at some stage, you guys will become so unstoppable, like that proverbial meep meep, like that ostrich, that people will be around you. Oh my God, the bond market has crashed. The Strait of Hormuz is still closed. And then you guys are like, I'm like, oh my God, what was that? Hey, those guys just manifested 1 million bucks in a year. Wow, how did they do that? Singularity prime directive. Do it the best you can and treat everyone the best you can. Because at the end of the day, all you're doing is you coming home. And at the end of the day, there is no one else. There's only you. You're just a guy or a girl watching some strange stuff on YouTube. There is no one else. There's only you. You play with yourself because there's no one else to play. Bless you. Thank you so much for that. So guys, I hope you have had an amazing time. Whatever you choose to do, please consider, I'm not suggesting, considering doing it the best, and send love to our brothers and sisters in the comment section, particularly those of our brothers and sisters who have joined us to co-create. Guys, if you haven't assembled your team and your affiliates most likely are downstairs. So remember, it's not transactional, you're not expecting anything in return, you're just showing reverence towards life. Thank you so much, guys. You have yourself an amazing day, and I hope you're gonna have incredibly exuberant life. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Love you all so much.